anywhere is messy. It sort of begins with what we're seeing right now. Here's Chris.
I hope that this vote passes tonight. We will send it to the Senate. We will extend funding, and we'll come back, and we will have the America First agenda come in roaring in January for the American people. Thank you so much.
Or not, hope is not a plan. That was House Speaker Johnson. I'm Chris CUOMO. Welcome to NewsNation, where we expose the game, and boy, is it in full effect, especially with the new Minister of Social Media, Elon Musk. He says, we're now all the media. No. It's just everybody on social media can have an opinion, including him. But we're also seeing the difference between an opinion and understanding, because now we are on the verge of a government shutdown, and yeah, they got another day. But that bill just failed in the House, and there are a lot of people very much against it. 40 Republicans, a bunch of Democrats, and they're voting against it for different reasons. Now, Musk can say no more spending. Say that to the people in North Carolina who are living in tents. Say that to all the people who you will have without certain benefits and new applications and payroll for Christmas and the New Year. Tell them that. See, that's what accountability and responsibility and why you want to be elected when you're going to make choices for how people spend the holiest day of the year. We are fortunate tonight to be discussing the state of play with a member of each party who voted against the bill. Let's start with the Republican side. Congressman Rich McCormick joining me right now. Congressman, first, Merry Christmas to you and the family if I don't get a chance to talk to you before then.
Merry Christmas. Blessings to you and yours as well.
So, Doc, what is the diagnosis of what's going on here? Is this dissension in the ranks, or is this we want to do better before we vote this thing thumbs up tomorrow and avoid a shutdown?
Yesterday, everybody said it was bad. It was a horrible bill. And now I get it. It was this 1,500-page monstrosity. I thought we were being hypocritical because we said to Nancy Pelosi, how dare you say we have to pass it first to find out what's in it? And that's exactly what we did. We didn't have 72 hours to read it. We didn't discuss it in conference in detail. We had a lot of bad stuff in there. It was an omnibus by any stretch of the word. I mean, it was the CR plus additional spending. I'm against that. I've voted against every CR. I've been very consistent with that. And then all of a sudden, we took out a lot of good things. We left a bunch of pork in there. We got rid of the deficit cap. I get why they did that, and I understand why President Trump wants that to help him with leverage into the future. And I want that too for him. But I'm not going to do it at the cost of voting for an omnibus. It didn't all of a sudden become a good bill when you took out very good fixes on PBMs, on site neutrality reimbursements, a bunch of things that most people wouldn't care about. But quite frankly, for 2 years, the Republicans have been in control of the budget. And for 2 years, we've been spending 40% of that FEMA, that really expensive stuff that you said that we need for our hurricane relief. 40%, guess where it went this year in 2024? And what we just voted tonight to try to extend, 40% would go to COVID relief. COVID relief in 2024 and into 2025. 40%, all that money that we're supposed to be spending on hurricane victims is still budgeted back like we're in the Nancy Pelosi days. I'm sick of that stuff. Can we not just come to the floor?
You're not the Nancy Pelosi days. You're in the pandemic days. You're in the pandemic days.
That's right.
Is what
We're
you're
not
saying.
anymore.
And I get it. Although,
we're not anymore.
Although don't forget, you don't have to deal with it now because it's not needed in the next 2 weeks. But don't sleep on long COVID, Doc. I don't have to tell you that. But what are you going to do? Because you can't. You're not. I'm with you about that. But you're not going to leave people in North Carolina in tents without funding coming their way over Christmas. You're not going to have people furloughed and not getting paid and benefits slowed over Christmas, are you? So I'm going to say the same thing to Ro Khanna in a second, by the way. This is a bipartisan question.
It's all good. You never want to leave people without pay, but quite frankly, they already got their paycheck for Christmas. That next paycheck is after Christmas, and by that time, guess what? We have a new Congress, we have a new Senate, and we're ready to roll. I'm not against shutting down, I think, 17% of the government? 17%, or passing some individual. If you want to keep it from getting frozen, give me a good bill. Give me something that actually makes sense to me. Don't fill it full of pork and then tell me that it's something that it's not. It's an omnibus, and it's a leftover vestige from days where we didn't control the budget, and it's actually budgeting for things that we don't even have anymore, like COVID. That's wrong. It's irresponsible and it's against everything we just promised the people we wouldn't do.
I'm with you on that one, but it's not just 17%. It's essential and non-essential. And I get what you're saying. They just got a paycheck, but you're assuming that you people come right back after the new year and get it done right away. And, you got to have people in anxiety over Christmas. That's my point. And the North Carolina thing is real also. So let me just end it on this. Are you open to voting tomorrow on another bill and avoiding a shutdown?
Of course I am. I'm a reasonable guy. I've always said from the very beginning, include me in the conversation. Don't just launch something on me and then tell me that it's good because you say it's good. It has to make sense. I'm a fiscal conservative. Your kids, my kids, into the future. Right now, if we keep things the way they are, we're going to, in 10 years, have almost half of the budget consumed by debt interest payments.
Yeah.
Tell me that's
Listen,
responsible.
I'm with you.
We haven't done a thing in 2 years.
It's not, but I got to tell you, both parties are equal offenders. Boy, Trump went in there, he cut taxes, and he did not cut spending. And it was, we had a pandemic, but he spent a ton before and after the pandemic. So here's my point. I hear you. I'm glad that you're open on it. I'm glad that you're willing to use the next day. Quickly, Elon Musk, is he going to be telling you what you do and what you don't do?
Obviously, in this case, he didn't. I think some people are more independent. It was funny. I had some people tell me they're going to vote no on this, and then somebody changed their mind. Some people are more susceptible to peer pressure, pressure from the top. I get it. The president is very influential. He's a powerful man who just got elected by a wide margin, and people are excited about it. I want to support the president, too. But I represent 760,000 people, and I'm my own man. I'm happy to work with Elon, Vivek, President Trump, anybody who's on the other side of the aisle who wants to actually make a responsible deal on the Social Security to save it from an automatic cut of 21% if we do nothing. That's not going to be voted on, my friend. That's going to happen if we don't do something. And if not now, when?
I hear you. Trump wants you to sign it. Musk doesn't want you to sign it because he said no spending until Trump comes in. But let's be honest. The guy may be a genius in his realm. He's not a genius in your realm. He doesn't know what it means if this doesn't get passed right now. It sounds great. No spending. He's not living in a tent in North Carolina. So are people aware of that, or how many of them are afraid if Musk and Ramaswamy come for you, you're going to get primaried? Now, you worried about that, Doc?
I'm not worried about it at all. I've been primaried. I've been primaried by the big people in this business, and I'm ready for that. And you know what? If it's my time to go, at least I go on principle. I'm here to save the generations ahead of me. I think it's really important. This is our biggest challenge right now because we've let this get away from us. And guess when it started? On George W. Bush's presidency in 2004 when you saw the massive divergence between responsible spending. As a matter of fact, it was worse between 2004 and 2014 than it was in the last 10 years. I'm trying to do the right thing. Right. I can talk statistics all day long. I can show you where that money can be saved and not hurt the people. The problem is whenever I come up with a solution, and if I want to save $413 billion from Medicaid fraud, the Democrats will say, you hate poor people, you hate children. Come on, let's just get together and actually do something for the American people, for your children, or we're done.
Dr. McCormick, appreciate you. I hope you guys get it done. Because let's be honest, the people have been disappointed long enough. Hopefully you guys can end the year on at least doing the bare minimum of what the job requires. And I appreciate you coming on here to make the case as always. And again, Merry Christmas to the family if I don't speak to you before.
Semper Fi, my friend.
Always faithful. Now, Democrat side of the ball, okay? Almost all of them voted no, but not because of what McCormick just said. They don't think there's enough of what should have been funded in this, and they don't want to extend the debt ceiling, which is what always has to happen because we're always needing to borrow more, because they think it will give Trump leverage to make tax cuts, and they want to keep that leverage. The game, my friends, the House Democratic leader, Hakeem Jeffries, just made the case for their resistance.
The bill that is before us today is just part of an effort to shut down the government. Unless we as representatives of the American people bend to the will of just a handful of millionaires and billionaires, suspending the debt ceiling for 2 years are designed to bring about a massive tax cut unpaid for wealthy donors and for wealthy corporations.
Let's bring in Democratic member of Congress, Ro Khanna, voted no on the deal. Ro, good to see you. Best for the holy days.
Good to see you. Merry Christmas to you, Chris, and to your viewers.
So you voted no, you Scrooge. Why?
Look, the speech that people should watch is Chip Roy. He's a Republican from Texas, person of principle. And he went on the House floor and he said, I don't understand how any self-respecting Republican can campaign on fiscal responsibility, talk about DOGE and cutting waste from government, and then vote to have a $5 trillion increase in our national debt. That's not my words. Those are Chip Roy's words. Go watch the 45-second speech. And the other thing, Chris, which you mentioned, and I like Representative McCormick, we worked together on a number of issues. But this is real people we're talking about. The last shutdown, 800,000 federal workers didn't get a paycheck. Now, they may have gotten reimbursed later on, but do you really want that anxiety heading into Christmas? Mm-hmm. And you get postal workers and people working at the airports, and they're wondering, are they going to get paid? Why are we doing this to them?
So I agree, but the question also has to be asked to you and the Democrats, Ro. Do you want to put that anxiety on people, or are you open to signing something tomorrow? And if so, what does it have to look like?
Look, it should just be a clean bill. We had a deal, and I liked the deal that we had, which increased cancer research funding, increased funding for breast cancer, kids' cancer. I'm not going to say Republicans voting against that, don't like kids. I'm not trying to, demagogue the issue. What I am saying is, okay, you don't want to increase the funding. At least give us a clean bill which extends the funding at the current levels until March. And I'm fine voting for that. But you can't add to it this $5 trillion deficit when we know you're going to do the tax cuts, as Hakeem Jeffries said, and the Democrats aren't for that. Just do a clean bill, get the funding till March, and I'd vote for that.
Is that you playing brinksmanship here about political leverage for an issue which may or may not happen, which would be Trump doing tax cuts when he comes in, and that you're leveraging people's needs right now against a political play in the future?
Well, Chris, we're not leveraging anyone. I mean, we agreed to a bipartisan deal with Speaker Johnson. I was all ready to go back to California yesterday, and
but
then
that wasn't a clean
all these
CR.
tweets happened, and we had a CR, and it would have increased funding. McCormick is right; it would have increased funding for cancer research. It would have increased funding for some of the priorities, but it was a bipartisan deal. And that would have funded government. And then suddenly they want to add an extension to the debt ceiling that isn't even going to be an issue until March or June of next year. It adds $5 trillion, and they expect Democrats to suddenly just go along and vote for that without making any commitment of not doing the tax cuts. I mean, that's not in good faith. In good faith, let's come up with a clean CR, which we're willing to vote for.
All right, so hopefully something happens tomorrow, because you're right. You don't want to go in over the holidays. And frankly, I think you guys need a win, even if it's with a small W, that Congress can get something done, especially over the holy days that are upcoming. It's a very bad look at a very bad time. Let me ask you something about your party. You voted for AOC to have the top position on the Oversight Committee. She wound up losing to Jerry Connolly. What were you thinking with that vote, putting somebody in who you know is a red flag for moderates in your party, independents, and, of course, every Republican?
Even Trump was rooting for her. Now, some people say it's sarcasm, but
I'm sure he was, because she's a great foil for him.
Well, I think he sees that she's good on TV. I think he sees she's a good communicator, and I don't think it was ideology. I think we need our best communicators out there. That we got hammered on communication with the Republicans. They're doing more podcasts. They're doing more cable news. They're willing to come on more shows like you. We've been too scripted as a party. We kind of do our talking points, our traditional press conferences. We go outside the House triangle and do a press conference.
No, I get it. But the message matters. You are a brilliant communicator. You're also reasonable. Every idea she has is a socialistic idea, and it just beat you in an election. She is not in touch with the majority of this country on the issues that mattered in this election. And that's what I don't get. She's great. She's glib. She's charismatic. She believes, but her beliefs are not what was just reflected by the majority of this country.
Well, but you have to look at the committee that she was going to be on. It was going to be oversight, and oversight was about government transparency. Let's get big money out of politics. Let's make sure there's not corruption in Washington. Let's make sure there's reform. Let's hold big pharmaceutical companies and the PBMs accountable. You know, I can understand if it's foreign affairs or some other place where the caucus is divided. On oversight, this is actually to her strength because she's a reformer. And, you know, she did this video of people who had voted for her and Trump. And one of the big things was they wanted someone who would take on the status quo. So I think when you look at the role, she would have been good in that role.
I respect the argument. That's a good point. And I appreciate Ro. I'm just saying, I see you at the top of the heap in your party. You are a fair broker, and that's what you guys need right now. You're willing to work with the other side. You're willing to be wrong. You're really, I hope that you keep being out there, and I hope you keep rising through the ranks, and you're always welcome here, and I wish you the best for Christmas and beyond.
Merry Christmas, Chris. Thanks. You're always fair, and we need more of this, and I appreciate you always inviting me on.
Well, you are welcome, and we're going to have some special projects coming up where we're trying to bring America more together with their leaders, and I'll certainly be asking you to participate in those. But you vote no again tomorrow, brother, and we're coming. We're coming. You're going to be getting a phone call tomorrow if we head into Christmas like this. I hope it doesn't happen. Be well, Ro Khanna. We'll be watching.
I hope so. Thank you. I hope we get it done tomorrow. Take care.
Okay. 4 minutes and 5 seconds. And I really do hope that McCormick and Khanna, sounds like a law firm or a TV show, that they don't all suck. They're not all bad people. They're not all there to play to the fringe. Okay? So you gotta have some optimism that it can get better. Now, I'll tell you who it's not getting better for. The assassin who took out in cold blood the head of United Healthcare. May be a mean company, but there was a very strong message delivered today about what happens if you decide that murder ever is okay. Live by the sword. Now, this guy on your screen in orange may die by the sword. Next. Today wasn't just a big day in Congress. You know, the conversation within the conversation I was having with those two guys is, look, I get what matters, but you got to think not just about what matters to your party and the leverage and the advantage, but to the people that it will affect, okay? The implication outside the game. Similarly, I completely understand, and we will recommit here at NewsNation to expose exactly what is and is not true about the insurance companies. And I'm going to tell you right now, I did a lot of things 20 years ago investigating them, and I can do the same stories today. What does that tell you? And I'll show you that then and now. But there is no equivocating when it comes to either you respect humanity, and that's why you want to go after these companies for when they don't, or you don't. And that is the end of the analysis with this assassin for me. There's nothing about this that makes anything better. And the CEO assassin and his social media superfans just realized what happens when you see murder as a good idea. Live by the sword, die by the sword. The 26-year-old murderer was facing at least 25 behind bars for the New York State charges. Now there are federal charges, and he is facing death because the federal charges make this a capital crime. There is no New York State death penalty, but there is a federal one. And the charges include 2 counts of stalking. That's him looking around before he shot him. 1 count of firearms offense because he made that gun that he wasn't licensed for. 1 count of murder through use of that firearm. And the last charge makes him eligible for the death penalty. A lot of people are saying, oh, they charged him for terror. No, they didn't. Now you know. The federal indictment included additional details found in the assassin's notebook that outline his intentions as far back as August. And that's very important. Why? Because if this is about an insanity defense, well, when exactly did he lose it? Because he had it then. August, he writes, the details are finally coming together. And I'm glad in a way that I've procrastinated because it allowed me to learn more about United Healthcare. Well, it's good that he was going to learn about the place before he decided it was worthy of murder. The notebook entry also stated the target is insurance because it checks every box. And on October 22nd, he wrote, 1.5 months. This investor conference is a true windfall. And most importantly, the message becomes self-evident. Later on, another entry describes an intent to whack the CEO. Right now, the suspect is being housed at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, same facility as Diddy. Next court date, January 18th. For perspective on why there are 2 sets of charges and how likely they are to stick and the implications, former U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York, that's federal, David Kelly, and criminal defense attorney who understands the federal and the state very well, Arthur Aidala. David, Arthur, appreciate you both. Thank you for coming in on short notice. David, explain why this isn't double jeopardy and whether or not this is a case that the feds can make and that the death penalty is a reasonable option.
Well, it's interesting. There's a lot of questions there. Let me unpack it a little bit. First, it's not double jeopardy. For double jeopardy to apply, you have to have a complete identity of the elements of the offense. So here you have a stalking offense with the carrying of a firearm as opposed to a straight out-and-out kind of a straight-up murder under state law. Under the state constitution, it wouldn't be double jeopardy if the feds had gone first. We probably will not have, it's a legitimate argument to make, and if I'm Arthur Aidala and I'm representing the defendant, I'm going to make a double jeopardy claim, but I think ultimately you probably would not prevail. It's interesting because what I find perplexing about this case is that it appears from what we know that the state wasn't really, Alvin Bragg's office wasn't really working with the Southern District on this, and it took them by surprise. That may not be the case, but it appears to be that way. But at the same time, there obviously was coordination because they have all the information in the federal complaint that had been collected in connection with the state investigation. It is unusual. The stalking offense is an unusual offense for the government to bring, and I can't think off the top of my head of a case like this. Where they charge a stalking offense and associated firearms offense, which make it eligible for the death penalty, where they've actually sought the death penalty. So one thing to be clear here, they filed a complaint, so it's a death-eligible case. That doesn't necessarily mean that the government will pursue the death penalty. Right. They may well, particularly given the new administration that's coming in.
Arthur, what's your read? And might I say, you look particularly splendiferous tonight.
Yeah, well, it's been an interesting day for me on a lot of fronts. I was actually right outside that courthouse today, and I do want to compliment David for the way he just broke that down because, he's played for that team for a long time, and he was just very honest with you. Chris, I don't remember a case. The last case I remember where there was a murder charge in both counts was the Crown Heights. And they lost in the state court, and then the feds, and I believe it was the Eastern District, brought a civil rights case so that they could convict the guy who was acquitted in state court. But it is so rare, so rare. I tried, I looked, I Googled, like a case where, this is a straight-up execution. And Chris, if I could say, I'm still an idealist when it comes to the criminal justice system. And this is a perfect example to show that justice is not blind. This is a shooting, a one-on-one shooting. Okay, the motives are a little different here than the two guys in Inwood, New York, or in Bed-Stuy. One guy just pulls out a gun and shoots the other. They're charged with murder in the second degree, unfortunately, dozens of times a year. This case has gotten all of this extraordinary attention and federal attention. Why? Is it socioeconomic? Is it his educational background? Is it the race of everybody? But to say justice is supposed to be treating everyone the same, that went out the window with this case, that's for sure.
You think this guy's overcharged?
Yeah, look, ask David. He was in that office. He was a storied prosecutor. He prosecuted the World Trade Center bombing case in 1993 where 6 people were killed, 1,000 people were injured. Ask him for an example. I think he honestly said he can't think of one where it's a straight-up murder case, one gun, one guy killing one other guy, where it's charged in state court, where it's supposed to be charged, and he overcharged it with this terrorism thing. It's a murder too. It's a straight-up murder too. It's textbook.
Wait, well, hold on.
Look, I don't think...
Guys, David, I want to bring you in here, but just one point of context. The guy says multiple times he's doing this to send a message about the healthcare companies.
To who? Who did he say it to? Who did he say it to?
He said it to himself, and he said it to the cameras when he was being brought in.
Well, he screamed something after the crime.
And the bullets had the words written on them.
Okay, but I mean, is that who? Look, I just think it's a stretch to go with the terrorist thing. Okay, they want to go with life without parole. That's the difference between 25 to life or life without parole. Go for it. But in my opinion, everyone who pulls out a gun and executes someone under these circumstances, it's murder in the second degree.
I get it, except they're probably, hold on, David, I want to bring you in, but let's give context to it. It's because not everybody says, I'm shooting you in the head because I want to send a message that this should happen to a lot of people in this industry. That's why they slapped the terrorism part on it, David. But what's your take? You guys are the better minds.
My take is, look, at the very basic level, yeah, it's a murder too, but it's not so simple. This is somebody who worked through interstate commerce. He brought a weapon. It was all designed. The motivation was something that really ties into the whole nation. It wasn't just walking down the street and putting a bullet in somebody's head. The motivation was much more complex and much more sophisticated than that. And there's a load of federal connection here that should be, vindicate those rights and those interests, the federal interest here, for a lot of the reasons you said, Chris, about, it's an attack on the insurance industry. It's an attack on an individual, an innocent individual who, was attacked by somebody who planned this out in a very intricate detail. And traveled interstate to do it. So there's a very strong federal interest to be vindicated here.
Those are gang cases all the time.
I do not think it's overcharged because I do think that, look, what's happened today was the filing of a federal complaint. It's not an indictment. I think things will shake out a little bit, and we'll see in the coming days and weeks some more coordination between the state and federal systems. We'll see what happens, whether or not the federal government pursues a death penalty, and how things shake out in an indictment. I don't think it's overcharged. I think it's a little premature to be judging exactly where this case ends up.
Fair point. Arthur, last word to you.
Chris, guys go down to Virginia all the time. They go get guns. They come back to New York, and it's a blood killing a Crip. It's a one drug dealer against another drug dealer, one rapper against another rapper. I don't know of a case where the feds get involved. So it's interstate commerce. There's money going back and forth. There's guns going back and forth. I can tell you one thing. Their educational backgrounds are different. Their occupational backgrounds are different. Their racial makeup is different. And that's the part that idealistic part of me gets a little skewed and feels a little upset about.
Yeah, it's just a weird argument to make that this guy being better educated and white got him more punished. I don't think that's the problem with the justice system.
Oh, really? Really? Go. You should have been in the courthouse with me today, Chris. If you don't think there's a difference the way people are treated based on all of those factors I just said, and including even gender, unfortunately, my friend, you're a little naive. Come with me. Hang out. We'll go all day. We'll sit at 100 Center Street, and we'll watch a rain.
First of all, tell people what you were doing today, and then, look, what I'm saying is, you're saying that justice isn't blind because a rich white guy is getting prosecuted more than a poor black guy?
Hold on. Who killed a rich white guy? You take that same scenario and you change the races and you put it in a different part of the city. We don't even hear about this case.
I don't disagree with that. That I don't disagree with. I was misunderstanding your point. Tell people where you were today and why you're particularly sensitive to this.
I was in the Manhattan courthouse, or the state courthouse right across the street, representing a fine woman, a 63-year-old woman who's been a public servant for the better part of 3 decades, who was charged in some fakakta, fugazi, bribery scam that I can't wait to go to trial, because the jurors of New York City are going to look at that prosecutor and say, sir, are you kidding me? Leave this woman alone and let her go back and be a public servant. She didn't take any bribes so that her son could go buy a job, go buy a car to help somebody in the Department of Buildings. So the justice system needs a lot of reform, and Donald Trump, he definitely campaigned on that fact. And I think in the next 4 years, especially in the federal justice system, you're going to see some significant changes.
If the point is that justice sees who's killed and it often affects how it acts, I'm with you 100%. David, you smirked. Is it because he brought in the Yiddish and the Italian Ebonics there, or was it
I think that the notion of a convicted felon who got off of some criminal cases where I think there's very, very strong factual support coming in and reforming the criminal justice system is what I smirked at.
Oh, the Trump hypocrisy. Yeah, I hear you on that. I got to say, you both made very good points. It's kind of like David was the judge and it was me versus Idala. The funny thing is, David, I love Arthur. I've
known Arthur a long time, and I like Arthur. We just disagree on some issues.
I just have a tremendous amount of respect for David and his career.
I'll tell you what, we're 2 for 2 tonight. Amazingly sophisticated guests who disagree, but they do it with decency and respect towards each other. Who knows? Maybe better days are ahead going into 2025. David Kelly, thank you very much. We'll see what happens on the federal side. And Arthur, I heard you call me naive. I got a fresh one for you. I got a special Christmas present for you.
Buon Natale, Buon Natale. What can I tell you?
Buon Natale. Arthur Idala, always on point. 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Up next, naive. Can you believe that guy? Can't wait. He's paying for every dinner I see him for the rest of the year. Oh, wait a minute. It's only in 2 weeks. Trump has his way. Former CEO of the WWE, Linda McMahon, is going to be the next education secretary. Now, you can feel however you want about it. But by the way, do a little homework. She's not qualified. She ran the Small Business Administration, by the way. It's like people forget that she's already been vetted once. But I have a guest who's going to talk about what really matters, which is what she should do with education. And she's talking about something that no one wants to talk about, and it matters so much. Next.
Linda rose from her chair. Linda rose from her chair. Oh! Brought into the McMahon.
Uh-oh, come on.
Just remember, like you told me when I was a little girl, this is gonna hurt me a lot worse than it hurts you.
Get her. What? She just did. I can't believe it is.
Yep. Mothers across the country and fathers, rejoice. How many have dreamed of doing that? And I love how after she does it, oh no. Anyway, former WWE CEO Linda McMahon worked in the federal government for Trump last time. Now she's coming back in charge of education. Everybody's talking about how she's another bad pick and they're going to get rid of the Department of Education. Look, we'll see what happens, but the question is, what should the focus be? My next guest says she knows what that should be. Day one, to reform the system. And it sounds a lot like what we've done here on NewsNation, specifically with my buddy Mike Rowe. What he has been putting out as a message for years, what he's been putting his money behind for years, bringing back the artisan class, the trades. Okay, Jeannie Allen from the Center for Education Reform joins us right now. First of all, best for the holidays, you and the family. Thank you very much for joining us.
Buon Natale, Chris.
Thank you. The trades, bless you for bringing this up. Bless you. Nobody wants to talk about this. They think that we're like condemning people when we say maybe college isn't for everybody. Maybe this is a better economic opportunity. Maybe it's a better return on investment. That it's not encouraged anymore, and we're losing members of the trades much faster than we're replacing them. You bring it up in your editorial. Why, and what do you think can be done?
Well, I want to talk about the trades in a slightly more 21st century approach. We want to talk about workforce development, because the reality is that you can take an entire industry. Take wrestling. You have players and you have producers, you have managers and you have money people. You have people who drive and you have people who market and do PR and get them on shows like yours. Every single industry has multiple different jobs. And so it's not just about preparing someone for a trade or higher education or school. What she has to do is eradicate this notion that it's an either or. Every student who comes into our schools, especially today, unlike when you and I maybe were younger, they know so much more. We should be investing in ideas that allow them to learn about careers and what it will take to get there. They may decide in fourth grade that they want to become a tradesperson, they want to become an artisan, or they want to become a manufacturer or a driver of drones. But whatever it is, they may want history. They may want philosophy. The fact that we've sent kids through 12 years of school, Chris, and we say it has to be this way. It has to look this way. It has to act this way. And once you get to magically to 7th or 8th grade, someone decides you're going to go to vocational school or you're going to go into college prep. It's ridiculous. The whole thing has to be turned on its head. And the woman you're looking at now, I think, has the ability to do it.
Well, not if they get rid of her department. So hopefully that's just Elon Musk talking and not our president-elect.
Well, let me say two things about that. There's still programs. Even if you get rid of a federal agency, there are still programs that exist. So Congress has to look at all those programs. It can't just go away on day one. But we can begin to look at, why do we have a department that has $80 billion? Why do we have a $1.7 trillion student loan debt? Where's that money going? The money is not going to parent-directed education. It's not going to the programs that students want to join. Who said that 12 years is magical? There are smart kids out there who can be doing things by 10th grade and earning a college degree. The innovators that we've invested in, that we've supported over years, have shown us time and time again, when the money goes down to the level of the school, when students are supported and parents are supported and they have freedom and flexibility, incredible things happen. Uncommon Construction sitting in New Orleans, Father Judge High School in Philadelphia. I can name you 1,000 of those that combine great education with career and apprenticeships and produce students who are prepared for anything.
There used to be a stigma against that you were trying to make them into working class, as if that's a bad thing too soon, and that you let them all be open to the humanities and philosophy, like they're all going to be artists and composers. And I think you're right. I think there's a return to practicality. A lot of people are doing it for themselves, but it would be nice if the system met the demands of the people it's supposed to serve. Ms. Allen, thank you very much for raising these ideas, and let us make a date. As we start to get more of a sense of what's going to happen, please come back and let's discuss it and what ideas you have for it, the Center for Education Reform. Ms. Allen is the founder of it, by the way. And I'd love to have you back to give us your take.
Me too. Thanks, Chris.
All right, take care. Happy holidays. 3 minutes, 45 seconds. Up next, what do you got? 844-968-7720. Let's get after it. Democracy is democrazy.
Democracy. Calls. We're doing calls. We're going to go to Mike in Asheville, North Carolina.
Mike, what's your question?
This is Mike Morgan. I'm from Asheville, North Carolina. I'm 67 years old. Thank you for bringing up the topic of Asheville. Lived here my entire life. I saw the people put behind their political differences, which me and you both agree we wish could happen. And we need help. That's the topic. Mm-hmm. We need help. The churches and the people have came together. We were without water for a great deal of time. I'm a business owner. I've been blessed. So I've been trying to help people. Little store, we're giving away $200 a week. Helped another individual. His business was washed away. But we don't have the resources enough to clear our roads. We're really backed up on our roads. We need federal help. And I don't know what I can do about it, but we need help.
You're doing it right now.
I sympathize
You're doing it right
with
now.
Well, Chris, I appreciate everything you're doing. and we're hurting. I'm not going to get emotional, but a lot of people are in tents in Swannanoa and Fairview and different places. And you're right. I like this publicly. If somebody wants to come by my store, I'm not going to say anything about the name. They'll know who I am. I'll be glad to help those children get toys. I'll be glad to help anybody as much as I can, but I have limited resources. And we're just devastated here. I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen anything like this.
Well, Mike, I appreciate you calling. God bless you and your heart and what you're doing for the people that you can. And look, the people in power watch, okay? And they should know what they're threatening for people in North Carolina who have already taken too much. And I appreciate you putting the message out, and we will certainly echo it here. I wish you the best for Christmas, and thank you for giving the gift of your attention and resources to others. Thank you for that. Next.
Yeah, Mike should keep watching because Brian Enton is there, and he's actually doing a special from there later on in Ashley's hour. So the network is definitely still on it. Aaron from Houston, Texas.
What's your question?
What's going on? What's going on, Chris? My name is Aaron Rochelle. I look forward to debating you in the future. You'll hear that name again. I just wanted to tell you, brother, you're missing the point when it comes to Luigi and their supporters. They're not supporting the murder. They're supporting the message. They're supporting the fact that the top keeps ignoring the bottom, and the bottom is eventually going to eat the rich, and that's what happened. And of course, he knows what happens in the industry and the insurance industry. He has firsthand experience with it. So, yeah, he probably knows the type of corruption. And we can debate on another time the innocence of the CEO, but I'll quickly say that anyone that profits from the suffering of others is, by definition, evil. But I also want to leave you with this, brother, and I know you want to have something to say, and I look forward to hearing what you got to say. But since when does the United States not use murder as a mechanism? You just did a whole segment on how that man is facing the death penalty, but it's all right because it's the government. It's not okay because he did it, and I'm not saying it was okay. Murder is murder, whether it's the government, insurance company, or Luigi. But at least Luigi had a message behind him. The United States has been participating in murder since its inception. We were founded on rebellion.
I hear you. I hear you. We're gonna get cut off on time. You can call back another time. You lose me as soon as you say, well, at least he had a message. Remind me, what brought us the 64 and 65 Right Acts that got us out of Jim Crow? Was it because a lot of people got killed because they were bad and part of the problem? You're either going to be better than what you oppose or you're going to continue what you oppose. That's it for us. We'll be right back.